specter of mass deportation looms large in the United States. Under a Trump directive, millions could face swift removal as rapid removal expands across the country. Beyond the headlines, what are the real impacts or the world impacts on the economy and human lives? Let us delve into the heart of this unfolding immigration crisis. Welcome to Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
The New York Times has reported that President Trump's executive order designating English as the official language of the U.S. has ignited fierce debate by revoking a Clinton-era policy mandating federal language assistance. The move aligns with the English-only movement, historically linked to immigration restrictions and opposition to bilingual education. Supporters hail it as a unifying step, but critics see it as a divisive one. Pro-immigration groups and Democratic leaders have condemned the order, with Representative Hakeem Jeffries questioning its legality. Organizations like United We Dream argue it marginalizes non-English speakers, while Puerto Rico strongly opposes the policy, emphasizing its Spanish-speaking heritage. Resident Commissioner Pablo José Hernández Riviera warned against undermining cultural identities in favor of assimilation. Though over 30 states already recognize English officially as the language in this nationwide designation raises concerns about inclusivity versus efficiency. While proponents claim it streamlines governance, opponents fear alienating minority communities. The controversy highlights America's enduring challenge, balancing national identity with its rich multicultural fabric. The News Looks has reported that President Trump's immigration crackdown has slashed illegal border crossings to historic lows, with just 8,450 apprehensions in February 2025, a 70% drop since January and a 98% decline from the 2023 peak under Biden. Aggressive measures like mass deportations, military deployment, and curtailed asylum protections have driven this unprecedented reduction. Despite initial success, challenges loom as ICE detention centers operates at 117% capacity, straining resources. The administration plans further enforcement, including invoking Title 42 and expanding deportations, but logistical hurdles persist. Critics warn of humanitarian concerns amid escalating restrictions. While Trump's hardline policies deliver short-term results, their sustainability is uncertain. Legal battles and seasonal migration trends may test their efficiency, highlighting the delicate balance between stringent enforcement and addressing resource constraints. From boosting GDP to filling critical jobs, immigrants are the backbone of America's economy, but Trump's push for mass deportations, what's at stake for the U.S. are prosperity and social stability.
As President Trump seeks to accelerate deportations by expanding rapid removal nationwide, policy targeting over 1 million immigrants admitted under Biden, questions arise about its implications for America's economy, social fabric, and immigrant communities. By sidestepping court hearings, this approach risks destabilizing both undocumented workers and legal residents. Immigrants are vital contributors to the U.S. economy, accounting for nearly 17% of the labor force. They fill critical roles in agriculture, construction, healthcare, and technology sectors. According to Immigration Impact, their presence boosts GDP growth, fosters innovation, and supports aging populations through caregiving services. Mass deportations could create labor shortages, disrupt supply chains, and reduce tax revenues. For instance, industries like farming may face acute worker deficits, threatening food security. Deportation also casts uncertainty on legal immigrants. Heightened enforcement fosters fear among documented families, deterring them from fully engaging economically or socially. Human Rights Watch warns that criminalizing undocumented status exacerbates societal divisions, undermining trust between immigrant communities and authorities. Furthermore, deportees often return to countries ill-equipped to reintegrate them, leading to economic hardship and potential instability abroad. This ripple effect strains international relations and regional economies dependent on remittances. While stricter immigration policies aim to address security concerns, they risk crippling key industries, alienating lawful residents, and destabilizing global networks. Balancing enforcement with humanity is crucial for sustaining America's prosperity.
Welcome back. We're going to continue to discuss the immigrant problem in the US and the Trump policies there right after this break. Welcome back. To provide more analysis about the most recent updates concerning the U.S. immigrant crisis, we're joined by Dr. Nuhaina Sheikhi, professor of political science from Cairo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for you and for our audience.
Thank you for joining us. Firstly, Doctor, can we start off by asking, how does Trump's expansion of the rapid removal policy reflect broader shifts when it comes to U.S. foreign policy towards immigration?
I think since his first term, he has a very strict policies and a strong attitudes against immigration in general, particularly from Mexico, from Muslim world, from Middle East. He paid very much attention and make it as a priority to stop immigration, particularly illegal immigration. We are talking about illegal immigrants who are trying to enter the United States or already enter the United States in illegal way. The United States is facing very important economic problems, or I prefer to call it challenges. Among most important is unemployment, which is raised dramatically after COVID. And from Trump point of view, that those illegal immigrants fulfill the jobs and available to the Americans, and which is the right of the citizens and legal people living in the United States. So he has his own vision toward immigrants, and also concerning the social coherence and social integration.
You talked about the idea of immigrants from certain or specific areas, but what do you mean when it comes to like the economy and it affecting the economy? Do you believe that these deportations or the expansion of the deportation policy may affect the labor market and thus, affect the U.S. economy and growth as a whole?
I'm talking about his argument. I mean, he is trying to reach the American society in a very consensus way. I mean, he is trying to convince the American people that his policies, by a way or another, serve their interest and serve their day-to-day needs and life. Yes. And I think he is successful in that up to the date, because the unemployment, talking about the labor market, all that touching, I think, the American
Yes, but
people.
if these immigrants are removed from the labor markets, do you not believe that this may affect the U.S. economy, maybe even making it regress?
Actually, if you are talking about reality, the United States, all the United States are basically immigrants, or 90% of its people originally immigrants. It's because you know that it was a new land, and all migrants went to the United States, and they were open to migrants for centuries, and welcomed all migrants for decades, encouraging in a moment in labor market. It may affect negatively the American economy, but he is trying to make some arguments in favor of the people. I don't know, but he is trying to justify his policies. But actually, his policies, I think, as far as I believe, it has a very dramatic consequences within the American society, because most of those we are talking about are parts of families. They are so it will affect thousands, maybe millions of families in the United States. Yes. Who will be preventing from hosting their family members, others. I mean, wife, husband, brother, sister, whatever. So it will be
it will tear apart families, basically, in the U.S.
Yes, and plus it will also cause a lot of problems with other countries. Can you imagine Mexico, for example, has almost 30 million people in the United States. How he will manage those things, and it will create some problems. And Mexico, by a way or another...
Wasn't there this plan, I mean, since you've brought up the idea of Latin America and all of that, wasn't there already a plan that Trump had proposed during his first term where he asked Mexico to create a wall to stop illegal immigration at the expense of Mexico? Do you think this is something that is feasible, or something that may cause tension between the U.S. and neighboring countries, especially in Latin America like Mexico?
I think it will cause a lot of tension, and Mexico, it is very important to the United States as economic sphere. So that political tension or social tension, it will, by way or another, affect the economic trade relation, etc. It is not healthy, by a way or another, in relation among North American countries. And with also Latin Americans, because it's another problem that he also wants to prevent totally those who are coming from other Latin American countries. So I think it's a very crucial issue, and it will have a lot of negative consequences both inside and concerning the international relation or foreign relation of the United States.
Well, since you brought up about the idea of having negative consequences on the U.S. market because of mass immigration and deportation of these migrants, what kind of risks could undocumented workers leaving the industries related to these immigrant labor, like for instance, the border towns, or rather border states between Mexico and the US, like Texas and other states as well, are heavily reliant on illegal migrants in their workforce. How will it affect these states?
I think it's not, there is no one trend to all states. I think the one who will be highly affected is the southern states of the United States, because those are the very close to Mexico and Latin America. Those also have millions of people socially and economically connected to those in Mexico and Latin America. So I think the one who will be suffered, if I can call it, from such policies of Trump it will be the southern states of the United States.
Okay. Could I ask you, will the implementation of a national immigrant registry undermine America's image as a global leader when it comes to human rights? Because they want these immigrants to register. Is this something that goes against the idea of championing human rights?
I think yes, because you know that the right for traveling for immigrants is one of the basic rights. The International Declaration of Human Rights mentioned it clearly. So as Trump is trying to constrain such rights, in that very, what is to say, or I can say tough way, I think that will affect on the American image, because historically United States represented itself as the one which is open for all nations, for all countries, for humans, for different humans, which is respecting different religions, ethnicity, etc., etc. So to block its borders and to prevent people from going to the United States and to deal in such a tough way with immigrants, I think that will affect negatively the image of the United States.
So my final question for you, Doctor, is in your perspective, how might stricter immigration policies influence the long-term economic productivity in the US? And also, will it affect the legal immigrants as well? Will they have some sort of fear of having to exit the labor market in the US or being deported?
It will by way or another affect, as I mentioned, negatively, because most of the immigrants, and particularly illegal immigrants, work with very low, payment, and that I think add a lot to the factors, to other jobs and work they are doing. So I think that most of the American highly educated, etc., will not doing the same, and if they will do the same, they will ask for high wages and salaries. So I think it is not good by all means. Yes. And by way or another, any economy which is going and trying to make a breakthrough and growth, etc., need more and more work, more and more hands. I think the United States, by its policies, will
unfortunately, ma'am, we're out of time for this episode of Think Tank. So, Dr. Nurhan Sheikh, a professor of political science, thank you so much for joining us here on Think Tank. As the US grapples with the identity amidst shifting immigration policies, the balance between security, economics, and humanity remains precarious. We underscore the profound impact of these decisions on lives, economies, and global relations. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Think Tank. Thank you for watching. I'm Rehan Morsi, and stay tuned for more here on Q News.